This is a video demonstration on how to add and work with shapefile layers in SpatialXL. To open my SpatialXL pane, I will click on my Show SpatialXL button. For this example, I will be working with a set of background maps for South Africa. If you don't have background maps, you can click on the Google Maps button in the spatial ribbon to add this as a background layer. You will just need to ensure that you do have an internet connection for this. To add a shapefile to the spatial pane, I will click on the Open button in the spatial ribbon. I will then browse to the location where my shapefiles are saved, and I will set the file type to be shapefiles or .shp files. I can then select the shapefile that I want to add to my map. In this example, I will load my local municipalities. And this will add my local municipality shapefile as a layer to my map and display here in my layer description box. I will also choose to click the Show Floating button, and this will expand and open up my spatial pane. To change the color of my shapefile, I can right-click on the layer in the layer description box, select Properties, the Styling tab, and I can change my color here. I can also set a transparency for my shapefile by clicking on the General tab and then dragging the transparency bar. When I'm happy with my settings, I can click OK. Every shapefile you open in SpatialXL will have a layer data grid with attribute or tabular data about each feature. To access the layer data grid, I will right-click my layer in my layer description box and click View Data. This will open up my layer data grid with columns and rows of data for each feature in my shapefile. For example, for my local municipality shapefile, I have the name of my municipality with some further details and some population information. I can click at the bottom of any column to get a count of the number of features that are in my shapefile. I could also, for example, click at the bottom of my population column to get a sum of the total population. I can also filter in my layer grid. For example, I will filter here on the province column to select only my municipalities in the Western Cape. This will update and show me a count of the number of municipalities in my grid, and the population number will update as well. My map layer will also update to only display the municipalities in the Western Cape. I could also do a search for a particular feature in my shapefile. For example, here I could click on the local municipality name and I could type in the name of the municipality I'm looking for. And this will filter out that municipality in my grid and also on my map. I can right-click this layer to zoom to this layer on my map. I can clear all my filters in my grid by clicking on the cross here in the bottom of my grid. I can also pivot or group my data in my grid by dragging and dropping a column to the top of my layer grid here. For example, I will take my province column and I'm then able to, for example, get a count per province of the number of municipalities. And I could also go to my population column and get either a sum or a percentage of the population by province. If you have a layer file saved with your shapefile, you can also open this from the Open Folder button. Here, for example, I have a layer file for my census data, so I will select this and add it to my map as a new layer. A layer file saves any properties for a shapefile, for example, any styling, labeling, or themes that have already been created. If I right-click my layer and go to Themes, I can access the themes that have already been set up here. For example, I can select the theme showing population density, and this will update my layer to show me my population density color theme. Or for example, I could select my theme showing predominant language group. I can use my map navigation tools to zoom to any area on my map, or I can use a bookmark with a view that has already been set up to zoom to my Gauteng area. I can also filter out this area by going into my layer data grid and filtering out my census data for Gauteng. And this will update my map. To create a new theme on a layer, for example on my local municipalities layer, I will right click and go to the properties box. I will click on the thematics tab and then click the new theme button to give my theme a name. For this example, I will theme on the province column. I then click on my colors tab and I choose the column that I will be theming on, in this example, province. I will leave the default as theme on text values and then click choose unique colors. All my provinces will now display in my box with different colors. If I want to change any of these colors, I can simply select them and choose a color from the color template. When I'm happy with my color selection, I can click OK. My map will now update to display my municipalities by province, and I can also choose to tick these on and off within my theme. To go back to my default theme, I can right-click my layer, select Theme, and I can choose my default theme here. I can use the Inspector tool in my spatial ribbon to click on any feature on my map, and information about that feature will populate here. I can also use the map selection tools to select multiple features on my map. For example, the select by clicking, or for example, I could use the select by circle to select features within a radius of a point. Once I've selected these features, I can click on my Select in Grid button, and this will open up my layer grid and only display the selected features here. In my grid, it will give me a count of the number of features that have been selected and also a sum of my total population. I can choose to right-click and copy this data to clipboard, and I can then paste this selection into a spreadsheet. Lastly, I can choose to move my grid data to a spreadsheet in Excel. To do this, I right-click my shapefile layer and click Move to Worksheet. I will choose to move all my columns across except for my geometry column, so I will click Check All and tick the geometry column off. Here I will choose my local municipality code as my unique ID to link, and I will make sure to click Link Data to link my sheet to my shapefile. I will then click OK. This will move my layer data grid to my spreadsheet. I will firstly dock my spatial pane by clicking the Close button so that I can view my spatial pane next to my spreadsheet. As you can see, my grid data has now been added as a new spreadsheet in my workbook. I can now add a filter to my spreadsheet, and I will now be able to do any filters on my data. For example, I could filter on the population column, and I could find the municipalities with the highest population numbers. This will automatically update to display these areas on my map. I now have a direct link between my spreadsheet data and my map layer to do any filters, searches, or queries. To save my data, I click the Excel Save button, and this will save both my shapefile layer and my data in my workbook. This has been an introduction on how to add and work with shapefile layers in SpatialXL. Please contact us with any queries or for information on our other SpatialXL tools and features.